Welcome to this Daily Bark. I'm Victor Vargas, and here we discuss ideas around composing life and art. Today we're going to discuss Maxfield Parrish, and we're going to discuss one of his paintings called, and the reason why I did that is because I have no idea how you even say that word, but what it means, I believe in Arabic, is poet or poetry. And so we're going to take a look into the design strategies that he used behind that painting. So when we look at this painting, we notice that on the left side is the woman. On the right side is the man. We look at things like the trees and the rocks and the mountain range in the back. And as a composer, we don't look at what's being represented, because what's being represented really has almost nothing to do with what the artist is trying to communicate. What we want to look at is the compositional strategy used to convey the story or the sensation of the piece, which is the primary message. Using curved elements called arabesques, Maxfield connects these two characters. So as I drag the slider across, you can see that it's being revealed. So if we look at the man, you can see how there's a curve where his belly is. There's a curve of his arm. It's mimicked in the shadow in the arm. It's mimicked in the curve of his back. It runs up to the bottom of his leg, up through the branch, coming to the top of the branch. And then once it gets to the center of the painting, it begins to move downward, coming down the branch, swinging up through the woman, up through her arm. You see that core shadow in her arm. You see the back, her back, and it swings around the tree at the top, and it comes into her. And so what he's doing is reading poetry. And because of the culture, they can't be next to each other. That would be improper. They're not married. And so he's courting her, he's flirting with her, and they're beginning to connect with each other without touching each other. And so he's reading this poetry, and it's floating through this space. It's swirling up through her and being deposited in her. So another strategy that Maxfield does is he incorporates line. So again, as I reveal the lines, you can really see the mountains are not mountains at all. They represent mountains, but what they really are these diagonals which become the pathway for the words to descend into the woman. These stones become a means for the words to travel. And by the words, because the words are the active element here, he's speaking out the words. They're traveling through space. They're being deposited in her. She's receiving it. And so that movement is animated by our eyes moving through the piece. We can feel him speaking to her. Because her eyes are moving through the piece, that movement is actually his words being spoken out. So if you look at the book, the highest point of contrast, black on white, right there, boom. That's what this painting is called, is poetry. So on that angle, the thrust moves up, and then it descends, coming down through the tree branch, through the mountains in the back, through the rocks, and coming into her. So again, even though you see a big tree and rocks and mountains, even though that's what's being represented, the composer is using them as a scaffolding for the poet's words to travel along to meet this woman. Again, their representations are separate, but in the composition, they're one. They're communicating. They're communing. They're forming a bond. And this is what Maxfield Parrish composed. Let me leave you with this question. In your compositions, what are some ways that you can project communication through line and curve, through arabesques and diagonals? How can you do it in your own work? Ciao.